Hello class. So for my wellness presentation, I'll be doing psychological strategies of motivation to improve overall wellness and fitness. So what that entails is basically I'll be looking at examples from empirical research that was done where they did uh, behavioral therapy to improve the wellness and fitness of the people involved. So for the introduction, uh, I'm talking about CBT. So CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically changing how your mind thinks about a situation to better how you deal with it. So what that means is basically you change, if something is going wrong in your life, you change the way that you think about it, not necessarily to ignore it, but to make it advantageous for you and you can make it better. So for the first article, we're diving into 147 participants who are of the older side. They're ranging from 50 to 80 years old. And the first group just did standard exercise techniques, and the other side did those with group therapy. So that group therapy, they talked about it and they were able to kind of ease into the process of a workout regimen. These are people with chronic illnesses who are older and further along in their lives, so it's harder for them to get into exercise regimens. And what this found was that in every single area that they tested, as I have up here, they improved in their exercise regimens, and in later testing of those same people, it was found that they actually stick with it longer than the people who just did the standard exercise. So for Article 2, it was the experiment. It was 100 participants, 72 women and 28 men. They were most of them suffered from depression or anxiety or both, and it was using cognitive behavioral therapy to use exercise to a certain degree, see how they conform to it. So it's basically they exercise to help with their depression and anxiety, and the CBT was used so that it would help facilitate them so they would not get depressed as much, and so then they would be more motivated to use the exercise, which then feeds into the CBT, and then it's circular. And they actually did find that it was that the health problems that they were having, pain, psychological, physical, were getting solved through exercise and CBT. So the third article that I found was it was exclusively women. It was a 9-month process, and it was college age, ranging from 18 to around 24 years old, and they were completely healthy. However, it saw that it used CBT, or it was rather the lack of CBT, and it was seeing what naturally people have for coping strategies. So they would exercise, they would be put on an exercise regimen, and they would see if they would lapse, being they would not exercise for 1 week, or they would relapse and not exercise for up to 3 weeks when a experience happens that is stressful. And it was found that those with better coping mechanisms, better mentalities going into this process stayed on their regimens better and longer than those without. So in summary, formal and informal CBT, so those who are trained in it and those who just have better coping mechanisms are more motivated to exercise, have fulfillment in their lives, as well as sticking with these things. And it's found across age groups, health, degrees of health, and across sexes and genders. For me personally, I am going to be using these with my athletes when I'm coaching, as well as in a previous research project I did for this master's degree. I was finding that it could be used to combat burnout so that athletes don't feel burnt out of the sport, and they could actually use cognitive behavioral therapy to improve their wellness in their sport. Future research, I think it would be really interesting to look into the position that I'm in right now, which is basically an athlete who was an athlete for a long time, but then is done with the sport, where they are moving on and it's no longer part of them, they can't go back to it, and see how CBT could be used to help them stay fit, stay physically active, and not go into a state where there's no longer any reason for me to stay fit because I'm not competing in a sport. So in conclusion, we all heard this adage of it's all mental, that no matter how you think, you're right. And with if you think that you're not motivated, you're not going to do it, you're right. If you are motivated and you're going to be able to get through this and exercise and have a better life, then you're right. And with CBT, it just helps you reach an area where you can feel more fulfilled and you can control that motivation a little bit more. Here are my references. That includes Mayo Clinics and empirical research done in peer-reviewed journals. Thank you, guys.